Okay, hopefully those others that are trying to join us will be able to jump in today, but we might kick off the session because we don't have a lot of time this evening, and I'm sure you will have a lot of questions for Nicole at the end of today's session. So welcome everybody to the Parents and Teens session hosted by Liverpool Library regarding everything you need to know about vaping. And just to kick off the session today, before we begin the proceedings this evening, I would like to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet in the Dharawal clan of the Dharawal Nation. We acknowledge that this land was also accessed by peoples of the Dharawal and Dharawal nations. That's for me here in Liverpool, so in the Liverpool Library area. So I want to acknowledge that before we get started. And I wanted to introduce Nicole Gatt, our New South Wales health expert of today. Nicole has worked in the Southwestern Sydney local health district for 8 years, and a main focus on promotion, women's health, substance dependency, and cessation support. Yeah, fabulous, Nicole. You've got a wealth of knowledge that hopefully we can all learn from today in what I think and believe is becoming a really prevalent issue in today's society, and that being, of course, vaping and its impact that it's having on young people in the society. So really excited that we have you here today. We're really thankful and grateful that you could be here. And I'm really excited to hand over to you now, and please introduce yourself and take it away. Oh, I will just mention I'm Chris. I forgot to even say who I am. So I'm Chris. I'm the youth librarian at Liverpool Library. I'm going to pop my email in the chat window. So if, I'm going to pop my email in the chat window that you can, if you want to contact me or you have any follow-up questions, you can ask me at a later date. But otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Nicole now. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you. I'll share my screen. Hopefully it works again. Has it worked again?
Is
it working?
Looking fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, excellent. No technical difficulties. So, hello, I'm Nicole. We're talking about nicotine delivery devices. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and the waters of this nation. I myself am a Dhanggati and Bundjalung woman, but I have a very strong connection to Gatt and Dharawal Land. Just wanted to acknowledge that again. Yeah, vaping. Lots of people have tried it. Not many people like to give themselves up when it comes to this kind of stuff, but everyone's vaping, but no one wants to dob themselves in. It's exactly the same as smoking back in the day. The generations, as we've gone through, pretty much the structure of the whole deal is there's a heating element, the battery. There's usually a cartridge, it's disposable or refillable, and an atomizer. Today, when I talk about vaping and those devices, I'll be pretty much talking about all of those names there listed down the bottom. It's about nicotine, really. Nicotine is pretty much the issue at the moment. These things just deliver that. So the process, the battery heats the atomizer, it aerosols the liquid into the cartridge, you inhale it and you exhale it. Just some poster here that's been used in America that I actually think is really great. It's based off the same one that an old school cigarette one was done, where it shows you all the ingredients. Just makes it a little bit relatable when people don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about formaldehyde, acetane, nickel, things like that. So nicotine, yes, this guy, really highly addictive, considered a poison. It's odorless, but it affects the reward pathway in the brain and dopamine release, which is the happy chemical. So it really forces nicotine to sit on that brain receptor, and the brain refuses to produce that chemical naturally. It's like, no, you can do it, nicotine. And it waits for the nicotine to release the happy chemical. So that's why people find it extremely difficult to quit smoking and vaping and things like that, because they're highly addicted to nicotine and they didn't even know it. Tastes like black pepper. Everything that's been added into it has been added to cover this little guy here. That includes tobacco and e-liquids. The reason menthol cigarettes came out was because women didn't like the taste of tobacco. It tastes like pepper. So that's why they've done it. So the vape device itself, averaging about 2,000 ingredients, can get to 3. The liquids usually contain water, nicotine, a flavoring, sugar, PG and VG, and vitamin E acetate, which is the one that's really getting the research worried about the effects that it has on the lung linings, and the way that the esophagus is bringing in oxygen and then breathing pretty much in general, but it's the way that it's taking oxygen down into the lungs. So it irritates the mouth and the throat as well. High levels of nicotine. The device itself is metal, so iron, tin, nickel, lead, they're getting burnt and then inhaled, then exhaled. A lot of people don't think that second and third hand smoke when they're talking about vaping clouds. So the research has found that there's definitely those heavy metals that are in that cloud. It is unfortunate that they've just found out that it's causing some cancers and some high risks of. So lung, bladder, oral. The issue, I suppose, with vaping is that it's relatively cheap. I mean, when cigarettes first came out, they weren't particularly expensive either. So the uptake again was something really nice, and it was seen as something really lovely for you to do at the end of the day to relax you, because it's a dopamine release. But the vapes can be really, really cheap and really expensive, so they can kind of go either way. But if you're getting started, you know, at $5 is nothing, you know, especially to kids now if they're trying to, you know, fit in, or for whatever reason, it's not too much money out of their pocket, which is unfortunate. But I'll just go over the cigarette because I'm just going to compare the two. 7,000 chemicals, 70 cause cancer, high levels of nicotine, dangerous chemical, dangerous amounts of tar, produces the carbon monoxide, so the second and third hand. 80% is invisible of that cigarette, second and third hand smoke. Cancers of the whole body, and cigarettes are extremely expensive. Water pipes. Water pipes sink because a lot of people don't understand or recognize the fact that their nicotine levels are double. The tar is 25 times the amount of a cigarette or a cigarette smoker. So I suppose that's obviously really dangerous when we're talking about youth, you know, just doing it on the weekends kind of thing, you know, still quite dangerous, you know, when we're considering that 1 hour is roughly 200 puffs, whereas 1 cigarette would be 20 puffs. Because the device is quite large, there's obviously a lot more metal going into this device. So the metal and the lead liquids, the metal and the lead found in the secondhand smoke and then into the liquids, which is going down into the lungs again, just like the vape, it's causing some cancers of the lungs, bladder, and of course around the oral. The carbon monoxide is 10 times worse. Again, it's because of the way that the device is structured. And the way that you're pulling through, and the charcoal that's being used there to heat it. Pretty cheap sometimes, I mean, if you know a guy, but look, you know, pretty expensive as well compared to that vape. Little brain tester. So if you're in the chat, just wanted to give everyone a little opportunity to have a little quick read. Some things give it away, but just interested to know. One is the immediate and long-term effects of cigarettes, and the other one is vaping. You can see that they're relatively similar. One gives it away. Anyone want to throw up a guess? In the little chat, do you think it's left or right? I know they're pretty similar.
It must be the left, correct? The left.
It's the stained fingers that gives it away for the cigarettes,
yes.
isn't it?
That's
yes,
right.
it is. It is. Look, it's but it's pretty similar. So, you know, when you're showing, you know, any young person these kind of things, you know, and they're telling you that, you know, oh, it's heaps better than cigarettes, you know, you can let them know that, you know, it's really quite similar, you know, and to not dismiss those that research and evidence that we now have. Okay, so in the liquid, there's a lot of, I don't even attempt to pronounce them anymore because the nurses just laugh at me. So I just called them PG and VG, but they pose different effects in the liquids. So when people are doing the liquids by themselves and they're putting in the liquids, you can change the ratios of the PG and the VG depending on what you want. So if you're an ex-smoker or you're a smoker and you're trying to quit and you're using the vape to do so, you usually put in a very high amount of PG, because PG hits the back of the throat just like a cigarette would. The VG is for more what the youth are probably smoking, vaping. It's the really slow, liquid, thick, warm, sweet part of the liquid that's, when burnt, the back of the throat hit isn't as hard, but the flavour intensity is still there, as you can see in the graph. And there's not a lot of allergy risk when compared to the PG. So not a lot of people have any, I suppose, issues or effects when they're having a higher VG rating. These things are really safe to have when you're eating them. Find them in foods all the time. It's when you're burning them and inhaling them repeatedly in a metal device when it becomes a problem for the body. Don't even think about it. It's going to be mama on you now. If you are vaping or you know anyone that is vaping, these flavors are a no-no. We're not here to tell you what not to do, but this is really, the evidence is there now. You know, we can say without a doubt, don't vape these flavors. You know, so if you're going to do some harm minimization, you know, with yourself, your family, your students, whatever. No fairy floss, no bubble gum, no vanilla, no cinnamon. You'd be surprised how many people actually are vaping these flavors. I had 3 of my clients that were vaping the bubble gum, and they were just like, oh no, what will I do? I'm like, pick one of the other 1,000 flavors. Really, just not these flavors. And if we're talking even about people that are really refusing to come off them, reduce anything like that, if you can get them off these flavors, you've done them a solid. The device safety itself with the liquids is really important because there's no child restraints. So if any of these kids or anyone that has people in their house that are under 16 years, you know, I'd be really putting them up and in a cupboard, you know, consider it a poison, you know, put it where you would put your poisons. You know, just swallowing 40 milligrams, you know, is it's fatal for an adult. So, you know, a teaspoon, that's nothing, you know, when you think about it. So, you know, really putting those things out of the way completely. Making sure that you're charging and reading all of the manufacturers, they're all completely different now, and this is how they're getting away with it. You know, oh, that's not my safety instructions, this is the safety instructions. And if it's a little bit different, you know, you don't stand a chance with trying to fight anything like that, you know. But when we're talking to kids like that, we need to tell them, you know, people have passed away, things have happened to people, you know, and pets, so many pets, you know, 2,000 reported cases of pet poisonings, you know, since not even, I mean, it's about a decade now. But, you know, that's really sad. You know, 2000 and a man passed away. We all were really shocked when that happened, when the vape pen exploded and it was in the bar and we all got to see it and everyone was like, wow, oh my God. And, you know, it was a real shame that nothing really got done, you know, when that happened. But, and then there was the 2-year-old that passed away in Victoria in 2017. So, you know, these are really scary cases that didn't need to happen. And it was just all about, you know, those fine lines in managing this dangerous liquid. No one's died from eating a cigarette. One lady said to me the other day, one of the professors, and she got me with it because I was like, well, I mean, true, but you know, that's kind of the difference in vaping and cigarettes now. You know, that liquid is so potent, you know, and the reason they're targeting youth, Australia is an aging population. All of the people that took up smoking are passing away. The die-hard smokers, the conglomerates are like, what do we do? How do we get nicotine to be cool again? I know, we'll manufacture it and make the system cool and sleep. We'll create many flavors. And that's instantly where they got people. Then they hid nicotine in it. Then everyone was addicted without even knowing they're addicted. And then if it's helping with any sort of me coping, anxiety, I'd be upset if you took it away, it makes me happy. Anything like that is nicotine addiction. You know, and because youth brain is still developing until 25, you know, it's really just putting renormalization on smoking in general. You know, by just giving it the new name of vaping, you know, hasn't really changed anything. And they've been really hardcore with targeting youth. They know they're the generation that are going to last the longest. They're going to get the most money out of them. And they hid the nicotine in it, so they got addicted before the government stepped in and did anything. Now there are some regulations and things, but it's cool now. Everyone's done it. Everyone's tried it. You know, people are getting peer pressured into it. You know, and now they're making money. They'll wait till this youth is old, they start again. It'll be something different, and it's all about nicotine. So we're just really pushing the fact that it's not about the vape itself. Show them the slide where the two compare. It's the same as smoking. We're just putting it in the same basket. A global, yes, we're so excited. So this came out today. Okay, I can't even speak now. This came out this morning. So Emily Banks has been really great in population health in Sydney. You know, they did 179 studies nationally, and then 100 and something overseas. They put them all together, and these are the things that we can pretty much say about vaping now. So smoking uptake, non-smokers are now 3 times more likely to vape. So that's a little bit scary. So they're getting smokers or children, youth, who wouldn't have smoked at all, have now tried nicotine, because nicotine's the problem. They're getting addicted to it because of the brain chemistry. They're too young, they're under 25. The reward pathway in the brain can't handle it. And then we're getting these symptoms. We're getting the lung injuries. You know, we're getting the CVD with the heart. There's the poisonings, sleep disorders, all the oral issues that we're having. It's affecting memory, attention, learning, you know, taste sensitivity, all the tongue issues, burns. And it's unfortunately got to the point where there is evidence behind it actually developing anxiety and depression because of that dopamine pathway, which is really sad because, you know, there's so many things that, you know, youth and teens now, young adults have to deal with, you know, during this pandemic. So it's really a shame that they were targeted, you know, through this at the beginning of that. So Dr. Caro from the Cancer Institute said a really good quote. He was like, taking in heavy metals, superheated liquids, superheated sugars and flavors cannot be good in the long term. You know, so from him saying that at the Cancer Council, it was just, yeah, really nice to hear, you know, some solid evidence behind what we've been trying to hint at for a while. Just some contributing factors influencing uptake. It's exactly the same as smoking again. It's the same graph. It's all about that first try. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to do it. I don't really do it that often. And then you're a regular. And then here you are. You're trying to get off. You didn't realize how hard it was. And then it all depends on your personal beliefs, how you're going mentally at the time, your family influences, what's going on around you. All those things will then contribute to whether you continue it on in your adulthood. So the liquid nicotine is now illegal unless you have a doctor's script and you're over 18. I put this in here because this is harm minimization. So if you're going to do it, this is the right way to do it. This liquid is regulated. We know what's in it. That's the really great thing. They are forced to tell us the ingredients list, which is the scary thing with most of the other ones. So I'll send you the slides if you want to know it. There's the link. It's a step-by-step thing. They have doctors there that are ready to go to help anyone that wants to do it, which is really great because that's what it was supposed to be intended for. People who are trying to quit, who then come off and then cut down again. So since January, I don't mean to laugh, but I just think, God, that's a lot of money. House deposit. I just think, you know, it's coming in hard and fast still. These are the ones they've caught, you know, so it was left for so long. There are so many pathways in and out now. You know, they really need new legislation. They need new ways that prohibit sale. They need commercialised stores to be part of this law. And they really need to be increasing that fine, to be honest. You know, $1,000 for someone isn't particularly high. You know, if they really want to target it and they really want to, you know, try their best, I don't think it should be a personal fine myself. I think it should be the store or person where that has been then eventually tracked back to. Because look, if you're a kid and you bought one on the side of your trip, you shouldn't be charged $1,000. Because if you had a cigarette, you're not going to get charged. You might, you know, you're getting a little bit of trouble from your mum, but, you know, it's the fact that it's liquid nicotine. They say that it won't be in it. All kids do. It probably said that it doesn't, but unless it's one of those script ones, it's probably got nicotine. And that's the issue, because that's the problem. It's the nicotine content in that liquid and making sure that that's not available in the street. So talking about it, are you seeing it? Are you hearing it? Do you know what it is, how it works? Do you know what's inside the liquid? Have you tried it? Are you using it daily? Do you know where you get it from? Do you know where they get it from? What flavors have you tried? Ask them nicely. Don't be like, are you seeing it? You know, it's really got to be all in the tone, so that when they're talking about refusing it, they can have that back. No, thank you. No, thank you. You know, it's really different when kids are talking to other kids about this kind of thing. So, you know, it's all about tone. Just change the topic completely. No, I'm okay. I actually just don't want to get addicted because my sister's totally addicted. And you can always switch the blame over, just then start talking about a story about your sister. Start talking about something else. I'm not interested anymore. Thank you. I'm trying to save some money for this. Let's just go do something else. No, I'm good. Thank you. It's okay to say no. You know, be that broken record over and over again. I thought you were my friend. I am your friend. No, thank you. You know, kids, it's okay for them to say no. It's also okay because they're gonna try it. So it's not okay for them to try it. They're gonna try it. So I suppose it's about how we react and then how we ask them and challenge them. And that mainly it's, do you know what's inside the liquid? And they go, yeah, apple. And you go, yep. The flavor, what else is in it? Just got one ingredient in it, and you watch them stumped. It makes me laugh every time, but I just think, oh, bless your little soul. But then again, if we were asked, you know, when we were trying that puff of a cigarette, what's inside, none of us could tell you. You know what I mean? So it's really about just making sure that, you know, they're aware that you're here if they need support, especially if it might be a little bit hard for them to stop. Any more help? Practice saying no. Try not to take the vape with you everywhere. That's a good small one, even if it's 5 minutes. I put the banana one in there because it's really good for smokers as well. It's actually a nicotine inhibitor, so it actually helps produce dopamine in the brain. Speak to your GP. Use NRT. Use NRT. That's what they're there for. They're there to help nicotine dependence. I apologize for my he apparently wasn't my fault. And, you know, really getting those group activities going, you know, meditation, deep breathing, all those kind of things, you know. Also thinking about when you're talking to your kids about it or vaping yourself, you know, and with cigarettes, I do it all the time when I'm talking to my clients. Do I want this or do I need it? Because if you just want it, ride the rave, ride the craving wave. It will take 10 minutes for your brain to release it naturally again. It will be forced to, because that's just how our bodies work. It's really great. The need is different to the want. The want is withdrawal. That's when you need someone to step in and help you. That's usually when the vape has really high levels of nicotine. That's when you usually would need some sort of intervention, whether that's the nicotine, whether it's replacing it with a small, you know, sugar-free or sugar. Glucose is really great if you can have glucose as a replacement. It does the same thing in the mind. It releases that dopamine and the brain thinks it's nicotine, and it will literally start forcing the brain to release it naturally again, because that's what we want to do. We want the dopamine released without nicotine prompting it. And that's it. Stop sharing now.